What's the best way to rebuild confidence after an injury? You know, this is a really good one. Pain science is very interesting in that sort of nature, and it's very much a psychological phenomenon. We understand tissue healing and can say that tissue remodels upwards of years after an injury, but life can go on, or life will go on rather. And well after those 2 years, even if we've implemented the best strategies and we, did everything we needed to do, we might still feel an aggravation and say, hey, yeah, I'm just a little hesitant to get into this range of motion because when I do get there, it just doesn't feel right. This is where the clinician or the person or the physio or whoever you're working with will maybe ask those clarifying questions, or should ask those clarifying questions. Well, what does right feel like for you? What is pain? What do you mean when you say pain? What exactly does that feel like? What would you rate this pain? Why do you think you feel that pain? Does it feel inhibited? Does it feel stiff? These are all clarifying questions that for someone like me, help me better understand and paint a better picture to the ongoing scenario that I'm dealing with. So I can ask those clarifying questions. I can do hands-on manual skills and orthopedic special tests, and I can find that the tissue and the structure is perfectly fine. It is the mind that has to end up really kind of being that last component to just let go. I like to say that our mind is a software and our body is a hardware, and we have to have an integrative relationship with these two systems. And sometimes they can misfire, sometimes they can be off, sometimes there can be bad wiring or an unstable connection. And in this instance, all we need to do is just basically repattern, reorient that motion. More oftentimes than not, people don't really realize what they're doing until they get an extra set of eyes on them. Make that wrist connection, get everything in a proper alignment, and now you start to see that progress. I've seen this time and time again, and sometimes it's posture, sometimes it's compensation, sometimes it's just bad ingrained motor pattern. So this could be something dealing with the nervous system, with how the brain perceives what the body is doing isn't always the case. And this is exactly in the instance of something like an acute injury, why I really try to promote, this is a case-by-case situation, but this is why I really try to promote motion, therapeutic motion. We don't want to stay stiff. We don't want to take rest. We don't want to put ice on something that doesn't need to be iced. We need to incorporate motion because as we move it, the tissue is constantly remodeling, especially as it's a fresh or acute injury, the body's laying down type 2 collagen, in every oriented fashion. And if we're not moving that structure, it's just going to be basically a pipe patch that has been laid in every orientation. Specific fibers have a pattern and a direction they like to move to, which is why when I incorporate motion, now type 1 collagen starts to come in and remodel and realign and become congruent with the fiber direction and orientation. So the more loading we can do, depending on the situation, the better outcomes we can have, where you would see, you could potentially see days shaved off of a recovery time because you addressed it in such a more effective and efficient manner. So some things to think about here.